So we sell that to the US, and then suddenly we're also selling Asian channels to the US or to our European customers. So this is where working with a channel manager really works, rather than maybe using your existing PMS that would have maybe the top 4 channels that will give you 70% of your bookings. And we're not looking to replace that. We go on a far deeper level than generally the PMSs go, with a connection to some of the bigger OTAs.
This is episode number 68 of the Short-Term Rental Success Stories podcast. Are you an investor that's looking to have your home professionally managed? Go to cohostit.com for more information. Welcome back to Short-Term Rental Success Stories. I'm your host, Julian Sage. This is a show where I talk to hosts about their journeys in starting and growing their short-term rental business. My goal is that you'll be able to walk away with practical information that'll help you become a better host and learn how to scale your business. Like any exceptional host, we all strive for 5-star reviews, so please go on over to iTunes and let us know what you enjoy, as it really helps support the show. If you haven't done so already, go on over to our Facebook group, The Host Nation, to connect with the community. Hey, what is going on, Host Nation? I'm super excited to be back again with you this week. So I'm really excited because right now during this time, people are really starting to work on their businesses, not just us as property managers, but also the tools that we are using. So in the following weeks, I'm going to be talking with a lot more of the service providers in the space and giving you an idea of what you should expect as a professional property manager. What are the different tools? What are the different things that are available for you? I love hearing stories of people discovering this podcast, like Mary, who I spoke with this week, and she actually found the podcast because she just went on iTunes, she looked up Airbnb, and then this showed up, and then she started learning about rental arbitrage or master lease investing and this whole world of short-term rentals. And once you start diving into this world of short-term rentals, you start to understand that it's not just, taking a property and putting it online and then making extra money. Like, this is an actual business. This is a hospitality business. It's one thing to take your property and then make an extra few dollars off of it. And it's another to take this and actually build a business out of short-term rental investing. And since this show highlights a lot of professionals in the space, I also wanted to introduce some of the professional tools that you could expect to be using if you do decide to make this more of a business. For those of you that aren't looking for a business though, and are looking for something more passive, hands-off, saying like, Julian, you know what, this is nice. I like hearing about everybody that's making all this money from short-term rentals, but I don't want to do all of that work myself. And I totally get that, which is why Co-Hostit, our management company, allows you to be able to earn more and work less. And one of the ways that we do this is actually through our investor program, the Turnkey Master Lease Investing Program. So if you're interested in actually passive investing, when I say passive, I mean you're not doing anything, then go to cohostit.com, fill out the contact form, and someone from our team will be reaching out to discuss, because we actually have some new properties that will be coming available very, very shortly. So if you're interested in master lease investing and looking for a passive approach, definitely go and fill out that form to see if this would be a good fit for you being able to passively invest in the short-term rental space. Again, these properties aren't always available, so it's a first come, first served basis. If you're on our waiting list, then you're going to get those properties right away. If you're on our investor email list by going to shorttermsage.com/investors, you will also get updates when there are extra properties available. So if you're interested in passive short-term rental investing, go to cohostit.com for more information. Today, I had the honor of speaking with James Burrows, one of the co-founders of Rentals United, which is a channel manager that helps property management companies market their listings across 60+ channel partners. In this video, James explains the difference between what a channel management software is and a PMS or property management software, and how Rentals United was formed, and the importance of channel diversification. If you like my show notes for this episode, go to shorttermsage.com/STR68, or if you like my show notes sent directly to your inbox every week, then go to shorttermsage.com/show notes. And if you guys aren't already following, go on YouTube, because we are posting YouTube specific videos. The last video that we just shared was how to actually purchase vacation rentals or short-term rental properties, where we were breaking down the numbers on exactly how you can come up with your numbers, such as like minimum price, base price, ADR, some really important numbers and factors that you need to be able to consider. So go to shorttermsage.com/YouTube and you can subscribe to the show on there. But with all that being said, on to this week's conversation. Hey, welcome back, Host Nation, to another episode of Short-Term Rental Success Stories. In this episode, we have the special honor of speaking with James Burrows, the co-founder and CEO of Rentals United. a channel manager. They are a service provider in the short-term rental space. So, James, would you please introduce yourself to the host nation and let them know who you are and what inspired you to get into short-term rentals?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for inviting me, Julian. So I'm James. As you say, I'm CEO and co-founder of Rentals United. We're based in Europe, in Barcelona, but we have customers kind of all over the place. And we're a channel manager, so it's quite a niche area we occupy. We started up roughly 2014, so it's still relatively new. We're kind of still sort of in a startup phase, but we distribute around 150,000 properties worldwide, 1,800 customers. What got me into vacation rental? I kind of fell into it, I think, which is what most people do. I'm one of the, I mean, I've been in it for probably 20 years. So I've seen a lot of change. And I left the UK to go to Rome with one of my partners, my ex-wife, in fact. And you might know her as Vanessa. So she's both she and I have ridden the vacation rental wave for quite some time. So there's been loads and loads of changes and always for the better, to be honest. You know, there's more regulations that come in place. The quality is becoming a lot more consistent. So it's been a really interesting journey so far.
Can you talk about, like you said you've been in the vacation rental space for about 20 years. Like what was that? How did you first get introduced to the vacation rentals?
We set up an internet marketing business in Rome. We kind of she was able to build websites. I could sell and blag a little bit about marketing and AdWords and all this kind of stuff. So we started to target Italian companies that wanted to market themselves outside of Italy, and obviously travel is a big part of this. And one of our customers was a property manager, and they had inventory in Rome, Florence, and Italy. And the way that they got customers was putting these minute little ads into the newspapers, into the classifieds. And you know, it was a nice business. So we worked on their website, and kind of one thing led to the other. We always thought that there was something much bigger out there than just working on one particular market. And equally at the time, and I think there was probably wrong of us, if we look at what's going on right now, we didn't want to get into the whole logistical side of managing properties. You know, I was doing check-ins, and then it was like, you know, people were arriving 3 hours late, and you know, all of these kind of stuff that that everyone kind of complains about. So we didn't want to do that, and we decided to set up a listing website similar to kind of, you know, an Airbnb style, but probably 7 or 8 years prior to them forming. So we had instant booking, which was pretty new at the time, and it was really interesting. And then we kind of got into Rentals United through this, because it was more of a case of Airbnb came around. We made a few mistakes with Google, and Airbnb was taking a lot of our market share. We got started talking to a few competitors and decided that we needed to do something about it. And the way that we could do it is by collaborating. So we're all kind of hunting for the same owners. So I had inventory in Paris, they might have had Rome, the other one had Rio. Why don't we just start sharing inventory between all of us? And so Rentals United originally was a property sharing platform that just kind of grew out. And we realized that not only could we market inventory in each other's platforms, that we could also start marketing our inventory across some of the bigger OTAs. So we started to connect to those guys, and you know, one thing led to another.
So when you originally, in the early 2000s, you were looking to just help other people market either their market their properties, or you said that you were working with a travel agency that was marketing properties and you were just helping to market the travel agency?
Yeah, but I mean, at the time, it was more of a business to kind of pay the bills. I mean, it wasn't something that we were looking any further than that. we created a business called Holiday Velvet, which was one of the first listing sites that dealt with proper international destinations across the world. I mean, at the time we had around up to 20,000 properties worldwide, which in today's standards is super small, but then it seemed like a lot. And we just saw an opportunity for a lot of the property managers who used to still have problems with marketing themselves in a way that could produce really good ROI. And so we started contacting owners, property managers, and really just to build up numbers. I mean, when you're looking at creating a website and a listing site like that, it's more about property numbers than anything else. The number of, if you had more properties in a particular location, that would always drive more reservations, and that's really what it was about.
So you said you came together with a bunch of other people that were in the similar niche. So you knew, like, oh, over in Italy, over in Spain, all these different locations, there were people that were listing other people's properties and trying to help market them. But it wasn't until that you came together and said, like, hey, why don't we, instead of us just marketing to our particular country, why don't we all, come together and help each other grow? So how is that basically?
I think that, even today when we start looking at what Rentals United is all about, it's all about collaboration. And, I think you mentioned before that the industry is relatively small compared to others. It's really fragmented. Obviously, we kind of all know this, and that we all need help. And so Rentals United now has a very open attitude for connecting. So, what do we really do? We're a software business. We connect to multiple businesses through PMSs, service providers, channels. We're managing around 200 API integrations currently. We have millions of API calls going through the platform on a daily basis. So the whole idea is to help smaller companies get access to those larger ones that have deep pockets, that want inventory and want quality properties to be able to sell on their website. So we see us as helping two sides, really. One is the property managers who want more bookings, and the channels who want inventory and find it difficult to get inventory from the smaller property managers, because they're difficult to manage when you have thousands and thousands of them all across the world.
Got it. So let's say I'm in the DC area, and I want to create a listing site like what you first did in the 2000s, just for people in DC, and help try to save money from booking a little bit more closer towards direct, getting a little bit more personal. Maybe I can offer them some more services, but I don't want to, just have them market their properties on like Airbnb, for example. I would reach out to you guys and you would help me promote their listings, if that's what I'm understanding.
Yes, exactly. I mean, we've certainly evolved over the course of the last 6 years. So right now it's not just about more bookings, it's about the quality of the reservations as well. So, longer periods, more money for the same reservation, working on different markets that property managers want to tackle. So for us, it's very much a case of talking to our US-based client base, saying, look, we can give you access to lots of different channels in Europe that can give you bookings. We all know that when a European comes to the US, they come for a longer period and they have more money to spend when they get there. And especially in Europe, you have a lot of local champions. So it's not just about Booking.com, Airbnb, and Vrbo, right? I mean, there are lots of different local champions out there. There are sites now that focus on mid to longer term bookings. There are themed channels about anything from pet friendly through to cannabis friendly channels. So we sell that to the US, and then suddenly we're also selling Asian channels to the US or to our European customers. So this is where working with a channel manager really works, rather than maybe using your existing PMS that would have maybe the top 4 channels that will give you 70% of your bookings. And we're not looking to replace that. We go on a far deeper level than generally the PMSs go, with a connection to some of the bigger OTAs. So you might want to work on different rate types. You might want to provide different kind of promotions when it comes to the bigger guys. But equally, if you want to give your properties more visibility across a far wider network of channels, then you'd use someone like us.
Got it. Got it. So you guys, because that was going to be one of my, my questions was a lot of these PMSs that we use, also have that channel management integration. And I was looking at your website, and it doesn't talk anything about a PMS. So, how do you manage all of those properties, or how do you manage all of your properties if you guys are just, a channel manager?
Yeah, I mean, we have 3 different types of customers that use the platform. One would be your smaller property manager that could use us manually. So, we have a very simplistic PMS. We're not planning to kind of build out those particular tools. There are so many other companies that do it better than us. But when it comes to managing your reservations, if you've got maybe 10 properties, you might want to use us. But we also understand that the bigger ones have more automated needs for managing their business on a daily basis. They need those operational tools. So we've connected to around 50 PMSs worldwide. So we kind of sit on top of the PMS. So those customers that want to use our channels through the PMS can, and it will be completely automated. So booking comes in from any of the channels, comes from us, and then flows into the PMS directly. And then we have some of the bigger enterprise level customers that would connect, or might be a little bit more focused on building some tech themselves. They would connect to us directly through API. So it's either manual through an API with a PMS, or manual directly through the property managers.
And I just kind of realized, we're throwing out a lot of terminology that's in the short-term rental space. But just to clarify, because like when I'm looking at your site, like I knew right away, like you guys aren't talking about a PMS. So can you clarify the difference between a channel manager and a PMS? Because I know a lot of people get those confused and kind of use them interchangeably.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose a channel manager focuses on reservations. That's it, right? So, fundamentally, we're a business that manages data, and the data flows through the platform, either from the channel through to Rentals United, from Rentals United to the property management software system. A PMS is a platform where they provide you with operational tools. So anything from managing schedules with your cleaners, your other kind of housekeeping staff, through to invoicing, through to taking payments, anything related to day-to-day running of the property manager's business. And you can get some really complex platforms out there. And some of these PMSs are connecting to some of the bigger channels as well, because they realize that many some of these bigger channels can generate a sizable chunk of your reservations, which so they'll connect directly to some of the channels as well. But really, their fundamental task is to create these tools where their customers can manage their business on through their daily needs.
One of the looks like kind of the growing trends is because a lot of the tools in the space, in the short-term rental space, like when people are just getting into it, they go to one tool that is really heavy on marketing, and maybe they see like they do a lot of different things. They're a channel manager, they're a PMS, they're an automated messaging, they're dynamic pricing. They have all these different tools that they are offering. Why just focus on channel management and not all of these other things that like you said, you could have a PMS that, is then connected to the Rentals United, which, you guys focus on channel distribution. When I say channel distribution, I'm meaning reaching out to other platforms, other providers that maybe just have like independent sites, I assume, that are also marketing properties?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, so sorry, the question was what? Why did we just concentrate on channel management
Correct.
rather than expanding it out? It's tough enough doing channel management, let alone doing building out a PMS as well. You know, we think that it's like building a car from many different manufacturers, and all of these manufacturers are building parts of that car, whether it's a chassis, whether it's tires, whether it's an engine, whether it's the body, and they're all building it in slightly different ways. And we're trying to piece all of these pieces together to create a car that kind of works and is consistent, so that for us is tough enough. We think that there are other challenges out there for PMSs, and it's not really something that we've ever designed to get into. There are many other companies out there that do a great job at that, and many of them are our partners, and we think that we can do far better job and provide far more help to the industry by focusing on what we do best, rather than start competing with many of our partners. I think that the market is big enough for all of us to gain from.
And that's kind of one of the things that we like to use in our business is the mindset of, you use the tool for what it's used for, rather than trying to find a tool that maybe has a bunch of different functionalities, because then you're building your entire business based off of, their priorities. Maybe that's not dynamic pricing. Maybe that's not channel management. Maybe it's just a good user experience. So, we like to use the tools as they're used for. But for myself, like right now, we're seeing a lot of people that are saying like, hey, try to book directs or find other ways to, market your property. Is Rentals United, does Rentals United kind of coincide with the book directs movement and that growing emphasis on trying to bring the property closer to, the individual, as opposed to having that OTA that kind of separates?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think that as a property manager, you should try and get as many bookings directly through your own website as possible. Why would you want to pay out commission, right? And equally, you maintain that level of quality in that relationship with your customers. But it's tough. I mean, I think that you look at the strength that these OTAs have, that they're there to help. I think that it's not about fighting between one or the other. If you're looking at any business out there, you should have a varied mix of marketing. How you generate revenue for your business, and it could be OTAs, it could be email shots, it could be AdWords, your own website, driving traffic, creating content. All of this stuff comes into this mix that you then use to go out there and build your brand. We do it. We don't rely just on AdWords or to generate revenue. We do lots of other different tactics internally to bring in new customers for us, and there's no difference for a property manager.
So are you guys? So you guys are kind of doing the manual legwork of, from what it sounds like, going out and finding all of these different listing sites, different property owners, and trying to provide that as a service to, let's say, these other OTAs like HomeAway or Airbnb. So instead of them just focusing, well, Airbnb is more focused on just Airbnb, but let's say for like Booking.com, for example, Booking.com pulls from probably a lot of different websites. You're trying to collect that information and then just provide it to Booking.com, or are you trying to provide it to the PMSs? Like, what's that relationship like?
No, can you just explain the question?
So are you trying to find all of these independent or all of these listing site owners? Let's say, like, we have someone in Florida, Nancy Mackleyer, and she has like a Florida vacation rental listing by owners, as opposed to Booking.com, having to go and talk to Nancy and saying like, hey, I see you market Florida properties. Do you want to market your properties with Booking? You go out to, let's say, Nancy, and then say, hey, would you work with us? And then you take that information and then provide it to, let's say, Booking?
No, so Nancy would be a separate channel for us, yeah, and this is in terms of our connection strategy. This is really where Rentals United is going. So we've been connected to the big guys for a long time. We're preferred partner with all of these guys. So, but for us, we're a channel manager, and therefore we need to connect to as many channels as possible. But it needs to add value to our client base, right? So I know that Nancy's going to generate reservations if I have inventory in Florida, and therefore I would also push that inventory if that customer wanted to decide to work with Booking.com as well. So there might be the same property on Booking as well as on Nancy's website, but we would provide it in two separate feeds. There's a slightly different model with some of the channel managers out there, but we're very much focused on self-service. We're not merchant of record. We recommend channels based on inventory and what revenue they could provide to our customers. But the final say goes to the property managers. It's their goal. If they want to work with Nancy, fantastic. And this is the kind of stuff that we try and promote as possible. I think that one thing that we've learned over the last 3 months is that you can't put all your eggs in one basket, right? I think that the bigger channels have a lot of strength, and they've had a lot of influence in cancellations right now. And if I was a property manager, I would be trying to vary where my bookings were coming as much as possible. And one thing that we've seen is that domestic travel for this year is going to be super big. That you can survive if there are now more problems like we've just experienced on mid to longer term bookings as well. And you should be having or putting aside part of your inventory on these other channels. And we're seeing a big convergence of inventory types right now. So I think we found that even more so now than ever, vacation rentals is not an alternative way of traveling anymore. It's become mainstream. You decide what type of accommodation you stay in depending upon your needs at the time, right? And so we're seeing the convergence coming from hoteliers thinking that they can also operate in vacation rental thinking they can operate like hotels, real estate thinking that rather than going long term now going into short term now looking at midterm to long term. So we want to just be able to provide those channels and platforms where our customers can have that level of choice, and that level of opportunities. And if you want to use your PMS direct connection to Booking.com, great. But I think you should also be looking at further afield than just those channels.
Hey, this is Julian, and I wanted to be able to give you our newest book, Airbnb Secrets Revealed, How to Build a Fortune on Airbnb Without Owning Property. In this book, we talk about the concepts of rental arbitrage investing, as well as co-hosting, and how you can build a business leveraging other people's properties. This book is perfect for the new short-term rental investor, and it's something that I wish that I had when I first started, as it would have saved me a lot of trouble and helped me to understand how to be able to leverage the power of short-term rental investing in your own real estate portfolio. If you'd like to get our newest book completely for free, go to shorttermsage.com/free book. Now, back to the show. You said that the majority of bookings are, obviously coming through these larger OTAs. You probably have a lot of data on this, but like looking at all of the other, more niche listing sites, like how much impact does a niche site have for overall bookings compared to the big OTAs?
It depends upon the location, the type of property, what kind of pricing you've got, what kind of clients you're looking for, and this is where we'll work out a detailed plan with all of our customers right from the start, and build a roadmap for that. It's just really difficult to give you any kind of answer. I know that some of our channels in certain locations, the niche ones are bringing the majority of bookings to some of our customers. But that's a very kind of one-off case. In general terms, your big OTAs will generally bring the lion's share of your bookings. But we're still in a market where one or two bookings extra per day or per week can make a big difference on the bottom line of our customers. So just one or two coming from other areas can make a difference.
People during this time are trying to be cost effective and trying to cut out the things that they don't feel like are really adding that much benefit to them. How does a channel manager really kind of like a dedicated channel manager like Rentals United kind of fit within that budget? Because let's say my PMS offers these major OTAs that and some smaller OTAs, some of them offer like 50 plus, which that's still a good amount, a sizable amount, but they're probably picking some of the more larger consumers that are trying to find property. How does let's say Rentals United fit in with like with a PMS that offers these different OTAs? Like, am I going to have to pay another fee on top of my PMS that already offers all of these different channels?
Yeah, this is a battle that we're going through constantly. On one hand, we're seen as a luxury because there's a second fee, right? We're a SaaS business for a start, and we're the only channel manager that really operates on this kind of model. So we charge a fixed fee per property per month, depending upon the number of properties. So meaning that property managers can really budget throughout the whole year. And when you're talking about the average monthly fee for us is around 250 euros. Let's say $280. So really you're talking about one or two bookings per month that you need to cover for a start. But then you need to look at, if you're not going to use us, you're going to use your PMSs, just direct connection, then that's fine. It's kind of their decision, but sometimes it's a false economy because you think you're saving money, but you should see the uplift that some of our customers are getting when they're using all of these more advanced features that we've implemented in the platform. So it's really a question of a deeper dive rather than just looking at, is a PMS's connection to Booking.com or Airbnb exactly the same as a channel connection from Rentals United to a channel? I don't think it is, and I think that we're able to prove the kind of uplift and the ROI that you can get with working with a channel manager and a PMS. I'm not looking to replace the PMSs. We're looking at as a value add for them.
How does that work? So let's say I do have that PMS that does market on 50 plus channels, and these PMSs, it seems like they keep on adding more and more. They're like, we're partnering with this company. How does that work with Rentals United? Do you guys just like completely stop taking the bookings coming from the PMS and then everything's just coming through Rentals United, or is it like a 50-50? Like, how does that work?
So bookings coming from us in terms of what? So you're a customer, you're working from a PMS, and you're working with Rentals United, or?
Correct. Is that like what the relationship is, or do you work directly with the PMS and then help the PMS expand their network?
Yeah, it varies depending upon the model. I mean, some of the PMSs, they would like to really own the relationship between them and their customers, which is fine. So we act as a kind of an invisible layer of providing access to the channels. Other PMSs, and we tend to find that this is the best relationship, would be a little bit more transparent. So they would introduce us as their partner. And so we would then be able to really work with that customer to be able to really define the proper distribution strategy that's perfect for their inventory. We can work on both models. And equally, if a PMS has a connection with Booking.com, and so do we'd like to say that the customer can make up their own mind whether they want to use ours or whether they want to use the PMSs. And again, going back to a model because we're SaaS based, it's a one fee. You get to access all the channels that you can have with us, and then our real focus is on making sure that our customers are making as many bookings as possible with the least amount of problems.
Where do you see for I mean, what is the ideal person that really should be looking at like a dedicated channel manager? Because a lot of these PMSs, they're spending a lot of money on marketing towards new people that are just coming into the space. A lot of people when they just start off, they just get on Airbnb, or maybe they just get on Verbo, and then maybe they start joining the Facebook groups, and then they find out that like, oh, there's a bunch of people talking about this PMS stuff. Then they go maybe the PMS route. When is a good time though? Should they be going like a dedicated channel manager first for like their one property, or should they be going to the PMS and then adding the channel manager?
I mean, surprisingly enough, and we have the stats to back this up. And equally, I don't know whether Transparent. There was a presentation by them in the Verma last year. So there are more property managers using a channel manager than there are a PMS right now. So they first decide that they want more bookings, right? So they come to us directly, they start using us, and they realize that, whatever needs they have from an operational point of view, Rentals United can't do it. So then they start to look at a PMS, and we can either provide them with a recommendation of a partner that we use, or they choose something else. And then we're also seeing that for us, we don't work with owners that have anything less than 10 properties. We kind of feel that this is a segment that acts more like a consumer, and they tend to flip from one platform to the next because they've got that small amount of property. So it's less of a business impact if you're moving from one platform to the next. So you can kind of pick and choose which one's going to be really good for your business and which tools are going to be right for you. We generally work with it's plus 10. Average size is around 30 properties, and it's companies that really look at distribution as being an integral part of their business. And I know I say this in a very kind of flippant way, but it means that they would generally have some kind of dedicated resource, that they would start looking at distribution in a far deeper way of how it's really going to impact their business. So again, going back to, it's not just the volume of bookings that really matter, it's the quality of reservations that have the biggest impact.
And how does Rentals United work? Like there's a lot more interest in the space, probably a lot more people that, as we're seeing short-term rentals, vacation rentals kind of grow, there's probably a lot more interest for, let's say, a person that lives local saying like, hey, I want to create a way for, me to be able to market properties in my specific location. So does Rentals United act as kind of like the medium between the person that's trying to market other people's properties, or do you work more closely to like the more booking direct way?
I mean, to be honest, it doesn't matter for us. Our core customers are generally property managers, so they're acting as a kind of an agent for the owners, right? But one thing we want is they need to have exclusivity. They need to own the calendar. We're an instant booking platform. We don't really work with any platforms that work on request or by lead. We started right from the start. We kind of think that the market is heading towards instant booking, and we're kind of right, because this is where even Airbnb now gravitating towards instant booking anyway. So we want to know that any supplier that works with us has ownership of availability, and if they have that, then the rest kind of is falls into place. And the platform we've built the platform in a way that it automates the quality of the content. So we work on kind of minimum content quality that's defined by the channels. Everything about Rentals United is built in line with what the channels want, which again is a little bit different to how the PMS is built. A lot of PMSs are built to customer specifications and where the market's going from a operational perspective. We basically build our platform, obviously with our customers' minds and needs at the forefront, but it's very much at the case of, look, it doesn't matter how you work. If the channels work differently, we're not going to work in that way. And so we act as, often we're acting as a translator between what the PMS has got or what the property manager model's got, and how that can translate in an easy way into the channels. And so we've worked with many of the channels over the last 5 years in trying to get them to understand that the market sometimes doesn't work the way that they want it to. And if they want to move into certain areas, then they need to be a lot more flexible in the way that they're dealing with specific business requirements that the property managers have, especially around managing availability and managing prices. And, we have some customers in Mallorca, let's say, who have defined this incredibly complex pricing model based on German people arriving on a Thursday, or Italians arriving on a Wednesday and only staying 3 days for the weekend. There's no way that you can put that into any kind of business logic that can fit into Airbnb. So, we try and work with the channels and educate them in terms of what the market is and what it needs, and equally trying to work with many of our customers, our property manager customers, in helping them understand how best they can really take advantage of what the channels can offer.
Instant book is something that scares a lot of people. I see a lot of people in like Facebook groups saying like, oh, turn off the instant book, it causes nothing but trouble. But you're saying that the future of travel is leaning more towards an instant book system.
That's what people want. I mean, I don't want to send a request over and get a response 24 hours later. Sorry, I want my booking now. I want to make a decision. I want my confirmation now. And you can see the uplift of properties that are on request compared to properties that are on instant booking on Airbnb, for example, and the uplift is huge. So yes, the future is on instant booking, whether property managers like it or not. I can understand, especially when it's their own home, that they need to vet everyone that's coming in. I completely get it. And there are channels out there that still work on this model, and I hope that they will still exist, because we need choice, and the more choice there is, I think that the better it is. But we as a business will always focus on what we think is going to be right for the market, and what is going to be right for moving the market on. And if we can provide that better user experience to the end customer in terms of the guest, then this is what we'll always do.
With going kind of with that, with security, the request for booking adds, a layer of or a sense of security to an owner. Being able to look at a person and say, how are their reviews? How are how many places are they, a new profile? Have they not uploaded their identification? Even if it's not a legitimate, 100% legitimate security, it's a sense of security. How does, with Rentals United, pulling basically from a bunch of other listing sites where, maybe, with scams and other people that maybe are trying to book properties and not be legitimate, how does Rentals United protect an owner who's trying to market and trying to get their properties out there and try to get those bookings, but also have that security?
I think when you start looking at the market and where it's dominated by, it's not the Sonders and Vacazas of the world that dominate the supply. It is your mom and pop style property manager. And the market understands this. And if we don't screen bookings, right? So, but the channels really understand that in order to get the best quality, and it is the best quality, those mom and pop properties, someone that really cares about their inventory, cares about people that stay in their properties, that is the best type of property. And this is exactly what the channels want. They understand that there is that level of fear, that there's also a screening process that needs to be in place. The channels understand this, and there's a lot of processes that the guest goes through to be able to make a booking, business rules, house rules that you can upload. There are many companies out there that now vet bookings, that now provide automated ways for uploading identification, all this kind of stuff. And whether those companies are connected to us through a marketplace, and we've already begun connecting to some of these guys, it should be through a PMS, and many of the PMSs are seeing the need for this as well. So if the channel doesn't do it, there are certainly a lot of tech providers that are providing this type of service now. So there shouldn't be that level of fear, and I don't think there should be that that necessary communication prior to the booking is being made. I understand that people might want it, but I don't think it's totally warranted anymore. There are enough service providers out there that can provide that level of security. But then the relationship between the host and the guest is obviously kind of vital afterwards. So I completely understand that there needs to be that level of communication, but prior, I myself would not want to answer all of these requests, and I've done it before, and it's a complete nightmare. So I prefer to do instant booking. So
So you're saying, instead of having these OTAs set their own precedents on this is what's required, or this is how things should do, you're saying it should be up to the property manager to have utilize a tool or have their own process for screening guests, for marketing their properties on multiple platforms, and being able to have more independent ownership of how their business is run. And that's really kind of where Rentals United and other companies that are these startups that are coming up and trying to solve this problem is really just kind of pulling away from strictly being reliant on the OTA system and making people more independent business owners.
Absolutely, and this is where the industry has been built up, and this is why the industry is so unique and enjoyable to work in. It's dominated by small property managers that have generally built the business up through their family. I mean, it's an incredible marketplace. So no one wants to take away that level of ownership. I think it's really up to them. They need to have that flexibility of choice of direct bookings, different OTAs, different types of booking processes, and they've never had more choice than they have today.
Great. Yeah, I think sorry for pulling you along. I'm trying to dig and get those difficult questions out, but I think kind of wrapping this up and coming to the end, I think that's really we kind of addressed what the big thing here is, that a lot of these OTAs, they provide that service, which is why they charge that fee, and they have ownership over basically your business. What Rentals United basically allows you to be able to become more of an independent owner of your business and operate your business the way that you would want, as opposed to how everybody else says it should be run.
I still also think that the OTAs don't want to take ownership of they understand that the ones that meet and greet and look after the customer, the best people for that are the people that actually manage or own the properties. I think that there will always be a place for these guys. I mean, just look at where the hotel sector is, right? I mean, whilst there's been a big movement of book direct for hotels, and hotels have certainly made some sizable movements to bring more market share for direct bookings, but still it's the same guys that still dominate, and they've got way too much money for any of these smaller property managers to start tackling. But there's certainly a place for book direct, as much as there is for some of these bigger channels, as well as the niche. I mean, I sometimes think that who would want to be a new channel in the marketplace right now? I was a channel for probably 10 years, and I know how difficult it is. But we get emails on a daily basis, new channels. And I think that if there are copycats of Airbnb and a booking.com, forget it. It's too impossible. And but if there are channels out there that have a a unique model, something that's niche, really focused on a particular market or a need, that there is a new travel segment, and there are new travel segments coming out that book based more on an experience than a need, right? And there are many out there, and our goal is to provide that level of choice for all of these potential customers. So yeah, it's I think that I am surprised, especially in the vacation rental market, how much choice there is actually out there.
Where do you see the future of vacation rental, short-term rentals going? Because you came from a time where all you could do was list on these more niche sites and try to market your vacation rental, and now we've shifted to where people are becoming really just dependent on these OTAs. Where do you see the future of the short-term rental, vacation rental industry moving forward?
I mean, I suppose. I mean, certainly, the future is a little bit more cloudy now, given what we've gone through. But certainly, people are going to be traveling in a different way. I'm assuming that vacation rentals is going to become a little bit more prominent, especially in the short term, because people are going to want to have that distance between each other. The future is more about variation in types of travelers and guests that you want in your properties. Things are going to change. People are still going to travel. But I think they're going to travel in different ways and have different needs. And you need to be able to cater your inventory around those different needs. For us, especially when it comes to more city-based, I think there's definitely this convergence going on. So, they need to take advantage of the different booking types and markets that maybe more seasonal locations can't quite get. But certainly longer term bookings, different kind of experience driven travelers is going to be where the market is going in the future, for sure.
And is Rentals United, because a lot of these OTAs are also trying to help promote those longer, medium term bookings, that midterm stay. Is Rentals United also working on trying to promote that, or are you guys, non-biased? It just doesn't really matter.
Well, we were ahead of our time, actually. We started connecting to midterm channels around 12 months ago. So we already had around 6 channels connected. And then suddenly Airbnb is seeing that there's a 20% uplift in bookings coming in over 30 days, which is fantastic. So I think that we're one of the first to integrate to their new length of stay API that provides that kind of flexibility on longer term stays for our customers. So yeah, I mean, it's a big part of or bigger part of the market now. Short term is great. It provides the most of the revenue, but I mean, I think that especially in seasonal locations, seasons are short. If you're going to run a business, then you need to run a business throughout the whole year. Those longer term bookings can make quite a difference. We have had customers that have only survived just on the midterm market over COVID. So it's been an interesting turnaround. So yeah, we are really pushing midterm at the moment. I think that we just need to open up the eyes of our customers and realizing that you can no longer just sit back and let the bigger guys make the bookings. You need to be a little bit more adventurous in how you're looking at your distribution.
Are you guys trying to, a lot of people have been talking about corporate rentals and those more midterm stays. Are you guys specifically trying to build up that type of clientele base so that property managers are able to find those types of people, or is it still up to the property manager to go out and try to set up those relationships with corporate clients? Or can they use, let's say, Rentals United to be able to facilitate that relationship?
Absolutely, yeah. So, I mean, corporate channels will certainly be part of our portfolio shortly. We're connecting directly right now to a number of channels in this area. So, what we do is more kind of facilitate the relationship. So we will put our customer in touch with the channel, and the channel will be able to offer them access to those corporate clients.
Got it. Awesome. Well, do you have anything else, James? Taking up a good amount of your time, but thank you so much for jumping on here and sharing and educating us on Rentals United.
It's been enjoyable. Thanks a lot. I don't have anything else.
All right. Well, until next time, Host Nation, keep on hosting.
Thanks a lot. Stay safe. Cheers. Bye.
Hope you hosts benefited from the show. If you found value, please go on over to iTunes, leave us a review, and let us know what you enjoy about the show. If you'd like to talk to hosts that have been featured in these episodes as well as the community, go on over to our Facebook group, The Host Nation.